Hey there, Mohammed Muzamil Mustafa. What's up?
Hello, Maya. Now I am back to discuss with you an interesting topic. The topic is how to deal with criticism and use it to improve.
Gotcha. That's a good one. So, what specifically about dealing with criticism feels tricky for you? Receiving it or act putting it to use?
Question in my mind to discuss with you. The first question: what is the difference between constructive criticism and negative criticism?
Good question to start with. To me, the biggest difference is intent. Criticism aims to help you grow, even if it points out flaws. It's usually specific and offers suggestions. Negative criticism, well, it often just feels like someone's trying to tear you down, right? It's vague and rarely offers anything helpful. Does that resonate with you?
Why do people often react emotionally when they receive criticism?
Oof, good question. I think it hit a nerve, honestly. Criticism can feel like a threat to our ego or our sense of competence. We build up these ideas about ourselves, and someone challenges them, it can feel like a personal attack, even if it isn't that a good wow or a bad wow. Just checking. Do you want to unpack what specifically made you say that?
How can someone stay calm while receiving feedback?
Staying calm. It's the $1 million question, isn't it? A big part of it is remembering that the criticism is about your work or your behavior, not about you as a person. Easier said than done, I know. Taking a deep breath before you respond can help too, gives you a little space to process. Does that sound right to you? Or do you have your own for that?
Okay, what strategies help identify whatever criticism is helpful or harmful?
Okay, so sorting the wheat from the chaff, huh? I think asking yourself a few quick questions can help. Does the criticism feel fair? Is it based on facts or just opinion? And most importantly, is it something you can actually do something about? If it's vague, complaining, personal attack, it's probably not your energy. But if it points to a concrete area for improvement, that's gold. Does that make sense?
How can criticism contribute to personal growth?
That's where the real magic happens, right? Criticism, when it's criticism, forces you to look at yourself honestly and highlights blind spots you didn't even know you had. And facing those things, admitting where you can improve, that's how you actually level up. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but it's where the growth is. What do you think? Had an experience where criticism genuinely helped you grow?
No, don't have any experience. My next question: why is it important to listen fully before responding to criticism?
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, listening fully, it's surprisingly hard, isn't it? But it's key. When you interrupt or start formulating your defense, well, that sounds like you've got something on your mind. What were you going to say? Did something just occur to you about listening?
In my mind, how does mindset affect your ability to accept feedback?
Ooh, that's a really good, huge impact, I think. If you've got a fixed mindset, believing your abilities are set in stone, criticism feels like a threat. It proves you're not as good. But with a growth mindset, believing abilities can be developed, criticism becomes information. It's a chance to learn and improve. Does that line up with your experience or what you've observed?
Okay, my next question: why is it important to listen fully before responding to criticism? And what does role play in handling criticism, like ego?
You caught me stumbling there. Sorry. I think you meant role play, right? Okay, let's tackle both of those questions. First, listening fully before responding. It's about actually understanding the other person's perspective, not just waiting for you to talk. You might be surprised at what you hear and really listen. And role playing, that's a smart way to practice handling criticism. It lets you test out different responses in a safe environment and figure out what works for you. You can even practice with someone you trust and ask for honest feedback on your reactions. What do you think? Have you ever tried role playing to prepare for a conversation?
Okay. How can you
Right.
separate criticism of your work from criticism of your identity?
That's a really important distinction to make because I think it comes down to focusing on specifics. Criticism of your was about a specific task, project, or skill. It's addressable. Criticism of your identity is more general, about who you are as a person. And that's usually where it gets harmful. Try to reframe it in your mind. Instead of think I'm a bad writer, think this particular piece of writing could be improved. Does that feel like a helpful mental shift?
Okay, what questions should you ask yourself after receiving feedback?
Good question. I think a few key questions can really help unpack feedback. First, is this criticism valid, even partially? Second, what specifically can I learn from this? Third, what's one small step I can take to improve based on this feedback? And finally, maybe the hardest one, am I reacting emotionally or am I actually listening? Those can help sort through it all, I think. What about you? Do you have any go-to questions when you're receiving feedback?
Okay, how can you deal with criticism and feel unfair or biased?
Ugh, worst. When you feel like someone's just being unfair, it's tough to stay rational. I think the first step is acknowledging that feeling. It's okay to feel upset. Then try to step back and look at the situation objectively. Is there room for the criticism, even if it's delivered badly? If it's truly baseless, you might need to address it directly, but calmly and professionally. Setting boundaries is key there. It's okay to say, I appreciate your perspective, but I disagree with your assessments. Have you ever been in that situation? How did you handle it?
Why is self awareness important when processing criticism?
Self awareness is everything, honestly. It lets you understand your own triggers, your biases, and how you tend to react. If you know you're prone to defensiveness, for example, you consciously try to counter that when receiving feedback. It also helps you recognize when the criticism is valid, even if it's hard to hear. Without self awareness, it's easy to get caught up in your emotions and miss the valuable insights. What's something you've learned about yourself that's helped you handle difficult situations?
Okay, how do some people struggle to give good feedback themselves?
Right. It's a really insightful, insightful question. I think a lot of it comes down to fear of hurting someone's feelings, fear of conflict, or even fear of being perceived as negative. Some people also just haven't learned how to deliver feedback effectively. They might be vague, focus on personality instead of behavior, or avoid giving feedback altogether. It's a skill, honestly, and it takes practice. Have you ever had to give someone difficult feedback? How did it go?
My last question: how can someone use criticism as motivation instead of discouragement?
Okay, last question. Good one to end on. Reframing is huge here. Instead of seeing criticism as a sign of failure, see it as a roadmap for improvement. Focus on what you can learn and celebrate wins as you make progress. Remind yourself that everyone makes mistakes and that setbacks are no part of the learning process. And most importantly, remember that seeking out and responding to feedback shows courage and commitment to growth. Does that feel a shift you could make? Are there any specific examples from your own experiences where you could have reframed criticism in a more motivating way?
Okay, Maya, I understand about the criticism, negative and positive, and these impacts. Thanks. Your information is really helpful for me to understand about the topic.
Oh, all right. Glad to hear it was helpful, Muhammad Muzamil Mustafa. It was a really good conversation, actually. You asked some really thoughtful questions. Hey, since we were talking about improving things, have you given this assessment? You can continue these kinds of conversations or chat anytime through there. Still in beta, but it's pretty cool. Just thought I'd mention it. No pressure, of course.